we have a fruit signal here that holds an array of fruits. Now we have a problem here. Whenever we call this add method, it sets this new fruit to the fruit signal. Now, when this is called twice or more than once, it sets this same new fruit to the fruit signal and it's updated in the DOM. So the built-in equality function doesn't check off this. Now, to check for multiple duplicates in our array, we need to add our own custom equality function. Now, how do we add our own custom equality function? We do that by passing in a second argument to the signal function, and this second argument accepts an equal property whose value is a function. Now this function takes in the previous value as the first parameter, whose type depends on the value of the signal. In this case, it's an array of string, so we'll now make the type to be this. Now the second parameter is the current value. That means the value that, so this one here will be an array of string. Now we see here we have a squiggly red line. So this is telling us that we have an error here, that this function needs to return a boolean. Right now it's returning a void. Okay, we'll come to that. So this previous value is the previous value of the fruits array, and the current value is the current value coming in to take the place of this previous value. Now this is where, in this function, is where we'll now do our comparison to check if we have multiple or duplicate fruits in our array. Now, if we have duplicate fruits in our array, then we will return true to tell the signal not to update our fruit signal. But if there are no duplicate fruit, we will return false, telling the signal to update its value to be the current value coming in. Then how do we now check if the previous value has duplicate elements? Now we have prepared this function, which is array is equal. So how does this work? It takes in two arrays to compare. So it will check if these two arrays are equal by comparing their elements. If they have similar elements that occur twice, then they are not equal. So it begins by finding the common elements between the two arrays, then check if common element appears more than once in the second array. So if it appears more than one, then these are arrays equal will return true. Then if not, it will return false. So what we'll do here is we'll call this arrays equal method here. So first write return, then call the arrays equal method here. Then we'll pass in the previous value and then pass in the current value. So it will check if these two values have common elements that are more than 2. So if an element in this current value is twice here and also appears here, then it will not update this signal with the current value. So this will return true and signal will not update the fruit signal. So now let's save this and try it. So on the first call, it will update our array with the new fruit, but on subsequent calls, it will not update it because it already exists in the signal's value. So now also, let's log this previous value. Let's log the previous value and the current value so that you can see them being displayed. So if we log it, let's bring this up. So you see the previous value has apple, banana, orange. Then the new value has apple, banana, orange, new fruit. So in this case, they are not equal because this new fruit does not exist in the previous value. So this returns false and this equal will return false. Will return false from this equals array. Then the signal will update the fruits with the current value, which is this. So that's why we'll see new fruit in our DOM. Now on the next click, you see it, the new fruit is not updated. Then look at the previous value. We have apple, banana, orange, new fruit. So in this case, the previous value now is the current value. In this previous calculation, you can see it. Now the current value is now apple, banana, orange, new fruit, new fruit. So now the new fruit appears twice. So since the new fruit already appears in the previous value, there is no need adding this new fruit to it again. So these are arrays returns true that they are equal. So this is our custom logic because we don't want this new fruit to appear twice because it already appears in the previous value. So we will return true that we don't want it to return. Then this equal returns the true, and signals doesn't update the fruit signal with this value, with this current value. So it still holds its previous value. So that's why we did not see the new fruit again being displayed here. Very good. So we have learned how the equality function works, and we have also seen how we added a custom equality function so as to remove duplicate arrays in our fruit signal. Now, you can also implement your own custom equality function depending on the logic you want. Here, we are just implementing it so that we don't have duplicate elements in our fruits array. In the next section, we'll show you how to also apply a custom equality function on signals that have objects as their value. Here, let's look at how we can apply equality function on signals that have object values. Now, let's remove this, or rather, let's convert it first. We'll have to remove this to hold an object of a username. Let me say John Doe. Then I'll remove this to be user. Then we'll have to update our DOM. This goes away. We just have to display our user, the name. So we'll just call our user signal here, then and access the name property to display it. Then here we'll access the age. We'll do the same, but in this case using the age property. Let's add the age property here. Okay, here first let's remove this. Now remove this also. Then we need to set the user, offset user here. Now let's set it to the same properties here. Now to detect that this user is changing, as usual, we'll create a computed version of it. We'll call the computed function, pass in a derivation function, then log to our console. This dot user, then we'll log our user object. User, then we'll remove this add and add set user. Then this should be set user. Let me make this div so that it doesn't appear like this. Very good. I think it's okay like this. Now we have a signal user with an object here. Then we have a derived user. So I'm just doing it so that we'll be getting a log on our console whenever the user object changes. Now we have a set user that updates the user signal with this value. Now when we click on the set user, nothing is logged. Okay, and now the solution, we need to call this here, so that we can see the log. Now we'll save. You see, we are now seeing the log here. Yeah, as the initial load and also call of the signal, we will need to see the log here. So because the signal value changed from the initial value of undefined to this, so the equality built-in equality function will check on undefined to this object. So it will return false, so it will make an update which will call this, because this derived user depends on the changes of this, so it will call this to recompute the value of the derived user. Now look at, when we click on this set user, it updates the value of the user signal to this. Now see that this object and this object are the same. They have the same properties and the same values. John Doe has the name, John Doe had the name, age 30, age 30. But when we click on the set user, it still updates this user, because we are seeing a log here from this. And remember, this will only run, this derivation function will only run when this user signal is being updated, which is so here. So why is this updating, since we have the same properties as the previous value? So it should not update in any sense of it. So this is called a wasted render. Now this is so because the equality function uses the referential operator. Now whenever we click on this and the user signal calls this, so the check that is being done is this object against itself. Now we are seeing it as the same object because it contains the same properties, but this referential operator are seeing it as different objects because they all point to different objects or different references. So this is an instance of an object and this is another instance of an object. In the world of this referential operator, both the left hand and the right hand side are not the same because they are different objects. They point to different references, so they are different. It doesn't matter if they contain the same properties and values, they are different because they are different object instances. Now we now see that we need to add our own equality custom equality function to check on the properties of the object being added, to check if they are the same with the object in the previous value. If they are the same, we do not update that signal or this user signal. But if they are not the same, then we need to update this user signal. So we need to override the equality function. Still the same thing as we did with fruits array. We'll come here, pass in the options object, then define our equal function property, open parentheses, then open braces and close. Remember, the previous value comes in first. Now the previous value is an object. Then we're taking the current value. The current value is an object also. Remember, the type is determined by the value of the signal. So remember, this equal function needs to return a boolean, not a void. So what we have to do is to check, just make a simple check, if the previous value name property is equal to the current value name property. For the sake of TypeScript, okay, let's define a user so that we can get rid of that error or type error listing. So let's just define name string and age to be a number. So we'll come here, make it user, so that so it goes away. So we check if the name of the name property in the previous value is same as the name property in the current value, and the age property, the value of the age property in the current value is the same thing as the value of the age property in the previous value. So this is how we run the check here. If the value of the name property in the previous value is same as the value of the name property in the current value, and also the value of the age property in the current value is the same as the value of the age property in the previous value, then return true. That means the previous value and the current value are equal, so it should not update. But if not, it should be updated. Now let's save this and test our function. Now when we call this set user, you see it does not update because this check returns true. Now let's log the previous value and the current value to see that it is called on every click. So the previous value, current value will save. Then let's click again. You see it is called, but it is not updated because we are seeing no call here. We are seeing no call on this console.log here. So it is being called. This equal function is being called, but because the previous value and the current value have the same properties and values, so it returns true. Now so this user signal is not updated at all. So when we click it and go, nothing happens. So you see how we are able to add a custom equality function to check on the properties of an object to prevent updates when another object instance is set on our user signal. Now this is a very great performance boost to prevent wasted renders in our components, because if not, our component and all its subtrees and subcomponents will all be rendered, because this will continuously update our component. So with the addition of this equal function, we were able to stop that and to only update our component when the properties of the value of our user signal is changed, either by addition or by editing or by deleting. So this is the end of our video. I hope you learned how the equality function works, and also learned how to add your own custom equality function, and also learned that the equal function returns a boolean, true not to update and false to update. Please like and share this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more content like this. Thank you and see you next time.